South Africa have lost the second T20I against Ireland. And yeah, we've ended the series 1-1. And on today's show, we're going to be talking about this. And we're going to get into the series so far, this T20 series. We have to look at this separately from what we did against Afghanistan. It was obviously ODIs against Afghanistan. Different squad, different needs, different environment, different goals than what are the goals for the T20 series. So we have to look at this differently, and I'm going to say that again. The T20 squad needs different additions and different work than what the ODI team needs. We can't just bunch all of the games together in one and look at a player's form across ODI and T20 and then just bundle it all together and then say, okay, this player is crap, that player is crap, this player is good, that player is good. We have to look at it in isolation, and we have to separate the two particular disciplines when we are analyzing this and speaking about this from a South African perspective. What the T20 squad needs, where the T20 squad is at the moment compared to where the ODI squad is, and what the ODI squad needs. They're in two different spaces, they're in two different levels, they are in two different pathways, and they need different things uh, compared with each other. Same as with the test team. The test team needs different things and a different direction than what the white ball teams need. There are maybe some overlaps between the two formats, but the two formats are played completely differently. So we're going to have to isolate it and look at it from both parts. But I'm going to start off today's show by first giving you my review of the game and my thoughts on the game, etc. But before we get going, before we get started, there's a couple of things I'd like you guys to please do. First and foremost, subscribe to the channel, click that notification bell for all future videos, please. I'd also like you guys to please smash the like button, comment, and share. It's very important that you comment after we've ended the stream in the comment section as well, please. That will help me out a lot. And also download the latest issue of Cricket Fanatics magazine monthly. Every issue is 100% free straight to your inbox every month. Link is on the screen as well as in the description. So without further ado, let's get straight into today's video. Evening, everybody. Welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine. This is your review show. I'm your host, Khalid Mohideen, and this is the show where we talk about everything that has to do with South Africa versus Ireland in the second T20I. So I'm going to first start off before I get into the live chat. I'm going to first start off with my review of what actually took place in the game for those players that or those people that didn't watch it. So we know that Ireland have won their first ever T20I against the Proteas, and it was a high-scoring encounter in Abu Dhabi. The game basically ebbed and flowed continuously, and we saw a maiden century from Ross Adair, and that was obviously backed up by some very good death bowling that sealed it off for Ireland ultimately. So we know the makeshift hosts, you would say, were off to they got to a very good start in the power play today with a bat. They were excellent. The captain Paul Sterling was magnificent in his approach. We had Ross Adair. Um, he did ride some luck early on, but then he went into a groove and he started punishing South Africa. And South Africa the bowlers couldn't really find an answer for him, particularly. Ireland, um, yeah, so I mean, Ireland were fantastic, as you can say, with the bat, especially for that first 13 overs of the game. They were on top of South Africa completely. It's clear from any point of view that that was the case. And um, after the 13th over, we finally got a breakthrough, and the years are positive to talk about. and that is Patrick Kruger, who I think has had a very good series so far. He came up with a breakthrough, and yeah, and then wickets started to fall at the back end as well. But it was mainly a day that really punished South Africa, and he stayed there and to reach his first 100 in this format. Uh, and it's also he was also the third Irish player to do this, or Irishman to do this actually. It did look like 210 or 200 plus would be an option on the cards over here. And you can say to an extent that it was a very good fight back at the end from Kruger and Williams in particular, um, to kind of put an end to or what would have been a, over 200 score. Um, but they still scored 195, which on this wicket we know is a hell of a lot of runs. Then when it came to South Africa's batting, um, I mean, Ryan Rickelton and Riza did get a good start, I must say. They were looking like they carried their form over at first. But then Ryan Rickelton kind of threw his wicket away, in my opinion. He did okay to get things started. He was 36 of 22 balls, was batting at 163. But yeah, he was cramped for room basically and got rushed for the pace. And then he spliced the ball um, to square leg. And it was a very good catch also from Camphor. But it was a massive moment in that game. Obviously, South Africa were down 1 for 50 runs on the board. And they actually got to 50 runs in a decent time frame, you could say, in 5.3 overs. But then Reza Hendricks, once again, backing up his performance, you could say, in the first T20I with another half century, scoring 51 of 32 balls, 159.37 strike rate. Very good performance from Reza Hendricks. And we've been criticizing him for a very long time, but in his T20 format, he keeps on scoring runs. But you could say that his wicket was kind of a very important one for Ireland, because that kind of gave them the ropes in a way, because you'd need someone from the top order maybe to bat right through, or you needed someone to score a big score maybe to do so. Although two of our batters performed really well and basically equaled out Adair's 100. So there was still a chance for South Africa to win this game, I felt. And Reza Hendricks batted well, but his wicket, 121 for 2, we were at that stage after 12.3 overs. And then wicket started to tumble after that, and nobody stuck around with Matthew Brzezinski, who had a brilliant game. A first opportunity to really show what he can do at number 3. And no one stuck around with him. And the captain didn't, Tristan Stubbs didn't. Two of the more experienced players, you would say, in this side, uh, didn't do their jobs today. And it was a complete batting collapse towards the end there. Brzezinski batted extremely well. Even though he struggled for timing a little bit towards up until reaching his half century. And when he lost his wicket in the 90th over, that was kind of the game in many ways. Market day against this market day this time claiming 3 wickets in the penultimate over. And also Patrick Kruger was included in that as well. And Marketeer was the top bowler for Ireland. He finished with a 4-wicket haul. Very economical spell as well. 3-wicket spell from Graham Hume. He was also a very good support act in this particular match. And in the end of the day, South Africa couldn't find the extra runs they needed. And they ended up losing by 10 runs. And on top of that, yeah, they're losing by 10 runs. They only made 185 for 9 in the 20 overs and drawing the series 1-1. So my criticisms of today's game. Well, I definitely have to start with our bowling performance. I don't think Vian Mulder bowled particularly well. Bjorn Fortuin, in the 2 overs that he bowled, was very expensive. He went for 24 runs in his two. Ngaba Peter went for 29 in his two. So the spinners didn't do the job for us today, but on the surface, it didn't look like the spin would necessarily be um, the main factor in this innings. On this pitch, it was quite a very good batting pitch. And it wasn't necessarily the spinners that did the most damage in today's game, of course. Um, you know that Mark Adair was really good with his four, and he's a fast medium pacer. And obviously, Graham Hume, also a right arm medium fast pacer. So they were ultimately the main wicket takers for them. And Vian Mulder took two for 51. He was very expensive, but he took 2 wickets. And then the rest of the wickets were shared. Lungin Gedi coming back into the side. He was very economical, 1 for 23, 5 economy rate. Lazard Williams. Um, Lazard has spells in games where he can look very bad, and then he has spells in games where he can look really good in the same, yeah, look really good. But then he's expensive, and then he becomes economical. So he ends sometimes very well, or he starts very well and ends very badly. So it's very inconsistent within one particular bowling innings for him. So he finished with 1 for 35 and an economy of 8.75. Patrick Kruger, 1 for 31, economy of 7.75. So our bowlers were extremely expensive today, as you can see by the total that Ireland scored. And I think relatively, bar Ross Adair, we kept them to an extent at bay, bar that opening partnership. Us not getting an early wicket really costed us in this game. And I think that obviously set the platform for them to just add and chip away, because the rest of the guys, we managed to take them out pretty easily. Bar George Dockrell, who got 20 of 13. So there were very important times in the match where I feel that we didn't like dig our heels in when we had a little bit of an advantage. So I think that was probably the main problem with regards to South Africa today. But I also think that our batting performance, bar the top three, wasn't good enough. We needed to find a way to bat deeper with certain players. Um, Obviously, Matthew Brzezinski was the guy to bat relatively deep. He took it right into the 19th over, but he needed a partner. And unfortunately, losing Riza Hendricks as his partner, and then also losing Tristan Stubbs, and then Vian Mulder in quick succession, that hurt South Africa, and it made the chase extremely difficult. So yeah, in the end, South Africa didn't manage to get the victory, and we ended up drawing this particular series. And that's the end of the T20 series and the T20 review. We now move on to the ODIs, which is next. So, what do we take away from this, in my opinion? Now, I do feel that Patrick Kruger had a good tournament or a good series so far in both with the ball. We've seen some good signs with the ball, but I do feel we need someone that can bat as well. That's the problem. We are lacking batting all rounders in this team, and that's something that we need to improve, and that's something that we are still searching for from a South African perspective. Now, Vian Mulder has shown flashes of that he can be that guy, but then he needs to be a lot more consistent with the ball. So that's kind of the problem at the moment, is we're not getting holistic matches, and that's the problem with all rounders. It's very seldom that an all rounder will take a lot of wickets and score massively as well, or score well as well. Particularly because all rounders, the batting all rounders, bat lower down the order, where they are given the task of having to be more destructive and kind of play that finishing role, which on its own is an X factor position and an inconsistent position. So when they're not performing with the bat, they need to perform with the ball, and that's how things go when it comes to South Africa, or when it comes to all rounders position. So I think we are still haven't seen enough with Patrick Kruger with the bat, and that's why in certain cases like this, for example, today I would have maybe after Riza Hendricks lost his wicket, given that we know what Tristan Stubbs can do and Aiden Markram can do, I would have perhaps maybe thrown Kruger up the order, giving him a chance there to bat with a little bit more over so that we could see whether he has what it takes from a technical perspective to handle a chase, you know? So I don't think we tested our players enough in those positions when we had those opportunities in this particular series so far. And I was hoping that that's something that we can do. Um, so yeah, that's something that is we can improve on. I think Ngaba Peter is still a player that is a lot to learn. Rispin is something that is a very technical form of bowling. It's a very unique style of bowling, and it does take a lot of skill. And I do think a stint in the SA20 for Ngaba Peter could be a really good thing for him. He can learn from the likes of Rashid Khan, etc., and other spinners that he might come across in the SA20. So that's going to be a big thing for him for his development, because at least we know we have a wrist spinner that we can work with. And I do believe that wrist spinners, when they can learn from other wrist spinners, and I do think that they are able to obviously improve their game still. So there are still skills that they can add and learn and improve on. I mean, we hear stories about a lot of wrist spinners that have learned from others and actually become world class or become really good players by actually learning from other players, etc. So that's something that we're going to have to wait and see how he can develop. Whether he can have the opportunity to maybe speak to players from the opposition in SA20, or in his own team, maybe that he can learn from, working with coaches of a high standard that can teach him more about Rispin. Because in South Africa, there aren't many people that he can really learn from, bar Tabrei Shamsi. And maybe if he has some sessions with Paul Adams, he can really get a lot of training from him and learn a lot from him, because majority of the mentorship that's happening from South African spinners are all off spinners, left arm off spinners or right arm off spinners. There aren't many wrist spinners to learn from. So there's still a lot that he can learn from in the game, learn about in the game. He's still very young, but at least he had a taste of international cricket and the levels. He's starting to get that experience, but I do think he needs to upskill, maybe learn how to add a little bit more variations with the ball, maybe also learn how to get more spin out of the wicket. Maybe there are certain tweaks he can do to his wrist or his fingers, etc., to be able to manipulate the ball better and find better trajectories, and learn how to mix up his pace and his line and lengths, etc., and work on a googly and all of those type of things he can improve on. So those are things that I think are positives. Not very happy with Aiden Markram in this particular two T20s. Yes, he showed some flashes in the first T20I. This T20I didn't have a very good game. So we are still waiting for him to improve his his performances with the bat in T20Is. Gaurav has said it in the live chat there. Last 14 T20Is is 201 runs at an average of 16.8 and a strike rate of 118. So he hasn't he hasn't been anywhere near good enough at the moment. His form has been poor, and yes, I understand that there's still plenty of time for him to improve his form before we hit the T20 World Cup, the next T20 World Cup. So the ODIs are actually where we should be putting more focus on, in my opinion. Another great thing is that two standout batters are both youngsters that came out of the series, and that's Ryan Rickleton and Matthew Brzezinski. They both showed their ability in both innings. that they played. So I think we found our next two in line for a starting position or first in line on the bench for our T20 squad. Remember, we need an opener, we need a backup number three, perhaps, and we need a number seven. Those are the positions we need to fill, and maybe a backup or a spinner. And those are the positions that we are looking for. And I think we've got those bases covered right now. We know now who we can trust and who we can play and who are the next in line. And then we can maybe take a scout at some of the guys at SA20 and in the CSA T20 challenge that's happening right now and see who puts up their hands in these tournaments so that we can make a decision on where we are at with the next in line. But I think overall it was a series that we learned a lot from. We move now on to the ODIs, and I think that's going to be much more important because we got destroyed in the ODIs. So this is a second chance for the players in the ODI squad to put up their hand, and by this time, um, and this time we're going to obviously get an opportunity to be able to see those next in line players because I think the ODI team is more important at the moment. We've got a Champions Trophy coming up, so I think that we have a lot we have a lot still to add to this. Sorry, guys. As you can see, this particular I don't know. I'm having problems with this laptop. I need a new laptop. It crashes sometimes halfway through the stream. I'm going to get into the live chat and see what you guys have had to say. As you know, that I can't get to all of your things at the top, so I'm gonna have to start here somewhere at the bottom and read out as many live chats as I can from about I would say about from 8 minutes, 7 minutes past 10. Okay, let me start with Dex's comment of. Oh wait, let me start with Jed's comment over here. I I was actually disappointed with how we gave this game away. Matthew Bretsky's inexperience showed with how he dealt with those constant wide deliveries. I expected better from him. Yes, and these are certain parts of the game that these players will learn. Moise at 20 opportunities will do that because they'll be put in these situations a lot more. Those things are always going to help these players to develop and get better at those things. I'd rather make those mistakes now early on and not leading up to the T20 World Cup, of course. It's going to be highly likely that Matthew Bretsky um, plays every single game leading up to the World Cup. If Riza Hendricks continues his form, we know he's going to get selected by Coach Rob. So it's good to know that Bretsky still has time to develop his game and become the next best thing for South Africa, which I do think is going to happen because he is still very young. But at least we have an option that can come in. It shouldn't be his role alone to to kind of close out the game. But yes, I would have expected him to do a lot better with his experience in domestic cricket and in cricket. You would expect him to maybe close out the game. He got very close, but he needed someone at the other end to really help him out. I feel to support him. Tex says we need to seriously think about Markram's captaincy. We have been losing for fun under him, and I blame Rob too. Um, yes, in bilateral series we have been, but we haven't always had our best 11 when he plays those nations. He's been he's been the captain with a lot of while we have been trying out new players and giving people opportunities, which doesn't make it very easy. And that's why I'm put more emphasis on his performances in these series that he plays because I feel that in a lot of those games he could win those games for us. But the only excuse I really have there is that he hasn't always had his best team when he's taken them on. We have to give him credit though for taking us to a World Cup final. I know we lost that game chasing, so that's something we need to improve on definitely. But at the end of the day, how well we do in the World Cup is actually what our measuring stick is. These series and things that are leading up to that is all supposed to be there to be able to grow confidence, build momentum, and also solve some issues that we have within the holistic squad. Because remember, some of these players won't make our first 11, our best first 11, when you are picking a World Cup 11 team. Gaurav says we haven't won a single T20 series under Rob and Aiden out of six. Um, yeah, and when you are giving people new opportunities, and there are so many changes in the team, that is going to happen. It's just naturally that is what's going to happen. Um, you will win some, you will struggle to make those changes, especially when you are bringing players straight out of domestic cricket into international cricket without much experience. Sorry, they will struggle. Sam says, why can't you criticize coaches for selecting poor squads when SA loses? Why only Aiden Markram? Is he only responsible to end SA matches? Because the reason is because I don't criticize the coach for the squad selection, because it's not only about, these series haven't been about solely on winning. If this series was solely on winning, we would be picking our best squad. David Miller, Heinrich Klaassen, all of those guys, Kagiso Rabada, Annie Nokia, Gerald Kutsia, Marco Janssen. Listen to how many names I rattled off that would make the starting 11. So this is by no means a best team. We've all cried out for Coach Rob to give opportunities to newer guys. He's given guys, I feel, that have been the best players domestically for a very long time, that have done it consistently over more than one season, and that have the capabilities and the mentality and the characteristics to be able to play this format at an international level. And he's given those players a chance. And when you are giving so many new players an opportunity all at once, it takes time for them to find their feet and get familiar with everything around them. They also have to get familiar with the partner that is on the other end with them. They also have to get familiar to foreign conditions quickly, when conditions they've never ever played before. So all of those things you need to take into account when you are criticizing these players, and you want to call for their heads, etc. I think most players will struggle coming up from domestic cricket straight into international T20 cricket. I think most players will struggle, especially in foreign conditions. Baralvi says Markram is batting like Bretsky and Ryan as if he's fighting for a place in the squad. I don't think so. I just think Markram's been in bad form for a while now in T20 cricket, in SA20, in the World Cup to an extent, as well as in the series that he's played so far. He's just been struggling with his form, generally speaking, in the white ball arena. He had a good World Cup in the ODIs, and then he's dipped in series after that, but he did score recently. So his form has been up and down in general in white ball cricket. In Test cricket, it's a bit better. I think he feels a lot more comfortable because he has more time, etc., to perform, to get his eye in. So you can kind of find your form again in 4-day cricket or in Test cricket, and we haven't played enough of that. They've played so much white ball in T20 cricket. You almost always are going to have a dip. It's almost guaranteed that you're going to have a dip of form because we play so many games. And there's no time to kind of just take your mind off that format and take a break from it. The dip is going to come a lot earlier as well, and it's going to look a lot worse because you're playing so many games in a row. Um, Riza should have taken responsibility. He has a habit of getting out just after 50. Yeah, because he's been struggling with his form recently. So um, we should actually be quite happy with the fact that he's gotten two consecutive half centuries, um, given the bad form that he was in. People wanted him dropped completely from the side. Remember that. So the fact that he's gotten back to back to half centuries now is a very good positive from a Riza Hendricks perspective. But it's also very good that Matthew Bretsky scored, because I feel that if Riza Hendricks slips up again, Matthew Bretsky can give given opportunities now, and you can kind of rotate them in series leading up to the T20 World Cup and see then who's the one that's in better form leading up to the World Cup. Um, Dex Khalid, why are you not pointing out Fortain? I did mention Fortain, uh, and Fortain, I feel, hasn't done overly poorly. I think the conditions don't necessarily suit this type of bowler that he is, um, and his skills that he presents. Um, and yeah, I think there's also some room for him to grow and get better as well. Uh, I don't think these wickets really necessarily suited what he does. He doesn't turn the ball too much. Sorry, guys. He doesn't really turn the ball much, so it does make things a little bit difficult on wickets that don't turn themselves. Onain says all the talk about not team, but not about. I think he says not a team, but I don't know who is our backup finisher number 5 and 6 if David Miller isn't available. Leave alone the squad. There is nobody in domestic who bats six and does well. Yeah, well, look, we were looking at Vian Mulder maybe in that sixth position. I mean, he's had some games where he's the finished off some games for the Durban Super Giants. I think he plays. So we want to see him develop into that a little bit more. There aren't many number sixes in the game at the moment that are doing exceptionally well. Donovan Ferreira has done well domestically, but that step up to international cricket has looked um, a little bit difficult for him. But if he has another good domestic season, maybe he should be given more opportunities in the national side, and sorry, maybe an extended run as well. I'm sorry, guys, I'm very tired. It was a long day. I was sitting at Newlands all day, and the game was rained out, so it's terrible. Plays for personal achievements. People like Harley, oh, here we go, and like me again, can boast that he has 200 plus career runs. Um, um, I don't think he plays for personal achievements. That is, you are talking about someone that you don't know anything about from a personal level. So, yeah, I'm not going to take what you say. I'm going to take what you say with a pinch of salt because you don't actually know his character and who he is. And if you know anything about Riza Hendricks, he's one of the least selfish people out there, or one of the least selfish cricketers out there. Um, and yeah, I mean, he scores 50s, you complain. Doesn't score 50s, you complain. So, what do you want? And I know what I want. I know I want him to score in World Cups when we really, really need him. So that's what I would like to see personally. Um, so those are the things that I'd like to see. Um, yeah. Anyway, uh, Riza plays with no intent in the power play. That is something that when he's off form, yes, when he's not really in his best form, then that's what happens. Um, but in an opening partnership like that, there is always going to be one person that is going to be more attacking, and the other one that's going to have to watch from the other end. So that's like almost natural. You're not going to have both play. Otherwise, they have to smack a couple of boundaries, then run a single, and then the next person has to smack boundaries and then run a single. I mean, it's not going to work like that. It's not going to work like that. So you're going to have, generally speaking, one person that's going to be more dominant in the power play than the other that has to watch from the other end, and then in the time after the power play, if a player can, if the other player then can kick on after that, that's a good thing um, as well. So, I mean, they've had two very good opening partnerships, and you have to look at the partnership as a whole. They had two very good opening partnerships in the series so far. They've shown that they can play together as a opening pair, and the fact that they're both from the Lions, etc., that's also very important. Um, Sam says, when we had Quentin de Kock, at least we were winning. We need Quentin de Kock. It's not all, not every single phase is always about winning. You need to take it. You need to take things in context as well and look at the process that we are in at the moment. Where in T20 cricket, particularly, I don't see at this moment in time that winning is the priority. Yes, winning would be great, and it lifts our spirits and it makes us happy when we win. If we could find the next generation of young talents and give domestic players opportunities at international level and still win, that would be obviously the ideal world. It would also be the ideal world if we could blood them in slowly and play majority of our best side with a couple of new guys in the mix. But that's not the situation that we find ourselves in, unfortunately. Um, what did JP Dumne has done so far, and why poor coaches like Anton Roux as bowling coach? Is CSA as poor than SA20 franchise legends like Alan Donald, Dale Steyn, John T. Rhodes? They're not with CSA. They've tried those guys already. Um, and international cricket is a whole different ball game to SA20. SA20, they don't really have much impact on the bowlers anyway. They only see them for like a small, like on a month or so, like a month or two. They only spend with them. Whereas with the international team, you'll obviously, with the national team, you spend a lot more time with them as well. And I'm sure those guys will get opportunities down the line. But a lot of them all have jobs already with franchises. We've tried Alan Donald, it didn't work. Dex says Brzezinski is not a middle order batter. Yeah, he's a top order batter, and that's why he's batting at 3. Where I feel that he should bat 3 or opening. Jed says, but Hardy, the argument there is that you've been playing so much T20 cricket that you think he'd find a way to find form playing so much white ball games, Aiden. Exactly. And unfortunately, he hasn't. So that is something that we need to see from him. And that's why I've been calling out his form consistently, because I feel that he needs to find his form again. And I don't know whether it's a break that he needs. I don't know whether now playing the longer format's going to help him get back into that mentality again and find his form again. But there was a period where Aiden Markram was just scoring runs after runs after runs after runs. And when you are in such amazing form, there's bound to be a downfall and a dip. And if you've had a long period of great form, the dip might be a little bit longer. Otherwise, Aiden Markram would be the best T20 batter of all time by a mile if he was scoring at the rate consistently that he was scoring at before he dipped in form. So we need to take everything into context. There's bound to be a big form, a drop in form after you have a great long spell. But he needs to do better, and I've called it out many times. Khalid, building player pool is an old excuse now to cover losses. I don't think it's an old excuse to cover losses, because Rob made it very, very clear. It's not like he said it afterwards, after losing. They made it very clear to all of us, to the media, on the press conferences that we've uploaded to the channel. They made it very, very clear that that was the mission after the T20 World Cup. the mission will be to try and find those positions that we need to fill. We need to find those stopgaps. We need to improve them. And the only way you can do that is by giving as many. You need to improve your pool of players. We can't, because a lot of the players that we have in the first 11 are going to retire soon. Then we're going to be sitting, if we don't do what we are doing now and give as many opportunities as possible, we're going to end up with a situation where we're going to have a squad. We are going to be blooding in young players into an inexperienced, instead of in an inexperienced team, rather than blooding them into an experienced team. Like, we don't want to repeat the mistakes of the past. So we have a very strong T20 team that made a World Cup final, that I feel can go on to make another World Cup final and perhaps go on and win it with a couple of extra additions. And if we want to keep that standard of cricket consistent over the next 5 to 6 to 7 years, we need to broaden our pool early so that we can add these players into the T20 World Cup squad for the next World Cup, try and win that one, and then grow from there. That's the only way this is going to work, guys. So that's something we need to take into consideration as well. Um, Looks like Riza already booked his kids' place in the SA20 T20 side after these two performances. I don't think so. I think that they will still have a look at his form over a long period of time. There's still a long way till the T20 World Cup. So there's going to be plenty of opportunities for players to put up their hands. Jaden Paul says, I think we should not criticize Rob's leadership as he's trying to expose younger stars to international level. And I think that's a good thing. In a few years to come, we will reap the benefits. Exactly. I agree with you 100%, Jaden. And that's what I'm trying to explain to majority of the people in the chat. We are too impatient at this stage where we're at the moment. Um, bringing up players that are not even playing, man. Like, can your agenda be any more like blatant? Gee whiz. After first, uh, it will be after first ODI. It will be, why have they picked Pechlekwaya? Okay, we're talking about Pechlekwaya again. That's the one that I can't think about. I can't answer you on that. Um, we'd have to ask Rob Walter what his thoughts are about Pechlekwaya, because, yeah, that's something that I'm struggling to wrap my brain around. Anyway, guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Please subscribe to the channel, click that notification bell for all future videos, please. And I'd also like you guys to please comment in the comment section below after we've ended the stream. Smash the like button as well, please. Very important that you guys do so. We will be taking on Ireland next in the ODI series. That will start on Wednesday, I think. Let me just double check that for you guys. Yeah, Wednesday, the 2nd of October. That will be the next one. So, yeah, let's see what we can do with regards to that. And see if we can do a much better job in the ODIs and maybe win that series, the first series on this tour that we've had. Although we know that the games at home are going to be extremely important as well, against Pakistan and Sri Lanka. And obviously, we got a test series against Bangladesh. There's so much cricket to cover, guys. And there's also a CSA T20 challenge that we are going to be talking about. And the women are playing in the T20 World Cup. So there's a lot. Anyway, guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I'll see you guys very, very soon with another show. Please click the subscribe button and the notification bell. That's how you will guys will get opportunities, or will know when we will be going live again. Yeah, I'm beat, guys. Been a very long day. Stay safe, enjoy the rest of your evening, and I'll speak to you guys very, very soon. Peace out.